everybody. I welcome you all to our English class. Today we look upon block 10, that is Boy Tales of Childhood by Roald Dahl. Now let's look over the video for a better understanding of the chapter.
Boy, Tales of Childhood by Roald Dahl. The Bicycle. When I was 7, my mother decided I should leave kindergarten and go to a proper boys' school. By good fortune, there existed a well-known school for boys about a mile from our house. It was called Llandaff Cathedral School, and it stood right under the shadow of Llandaff Cathedral. I can remember very little about the 2 years I attended Llandaff Cathedral School, between the age of 7 and 9. Only 2 moments remain clearly in my mind. The first lasted not more than 5 seconds, but I will never forget it. It was my first term, and I was walking home alone across the village after school, when suddenly one of the senior 12-year-old boys came riding full speed down the road on his bicycle about 20 yards away from me. The road was on a hill, and the boy was going down the slope. And as he flashed by, he started backpedaling very quickly, so that his bike made a loud whirring sound. At the same time, he took his hands off the handlebars and folded them casually across his chest. I stopped dead and stared after him. How wonderful he was! How swift and brave and graceful! One day, I told myself, one glorious day, I will go whizzing down the hill, pedaling backwards with no hands on the handlebars. I promise you that if somebody had caught me by the shoulder at that moment and said to me, "What is your greatest wish in life, little boy? What is your absolute ambition? To be a doctor? A fine musician? A painter? A writer?" I would have answered without hesitation that my only ambition, my hope, my longing was to have a bicycle like that and to go whizzing down the hill with no hands on the handlebars. It would be fabulous. It made me tremble just to think about it. A few years later. Chocolates. Every now and again, a plain grey cardboard box was dished out to each boy in our house. And this, believe it or not, was a present from the great chocolate manufacturers, Cadbury. Inside the box, there were 12 bars of chocolate, all of different shapes, with different fillings, and numbers from 1 to 12 stamped on the chocolate underneath. 11 of these bars were new inventions from the factory. The 12th was usually a Cadbury's coffee cream bar. Also, in the box was a sheet of paper with the numbers 1 to 12 on it, as well as 2 blank columns, one for giving marks to each chocolate from 0 to 10, and the other for comments. All we were required to do in return for this splendid gift was to taste very carefully each bar of chocolate, give it marks, and make an intelligent comment on why we liked or disliked it. It was a clever stunt. Cadbury's were using some of the greatest chocolate bar experts in the world to test out their new inventions. We were of a sensible age, between 13 and 18, and we knew intimately every chocolate bar in existence, from the Milk Flake to the Lemon Marshmallow. Quite obviously, our opinions on anything new would be valuable. All of us entered into this game with great gusto, sitting in our studies and nibbling each bar with the air of connoisseurs, giving our marks and making our comments. Too subtle for the common palate was one note I remember writing down. For me, the importance of all this was that I began to realize that the large chocolate companies actually did possess inventing rooms, and they took their inventing very seriously. I used to picture a long, white room, like a laboratory, with pots of chocolate and fudge, and all sorts of other delicious fillings bubbling away on the stoves, while men and women in white coats moved between the bubbling pots, tasting and mixing and concocting their wonderful new inventions. I used to imagine myself working in one of these labs, and suddenly I would come up with something so absolutely unbearably delicious that I would grab it in my hand and go rushing out of the lab and along the corridor and right into the office of the great Mr. Cadbury himself. "I've got it, sir," I would shout, putting the chocolate in front of him. "It's fantastic. It's fabulous. It's marvelous. It's irresistible." Slowly, the great man would pick up my newly invented chocolate, and he would take a small bite. He would roll it round his mouth. Then all at once, he would leap up from his chair crying, "You've got it! You've done it! It's a miracle!" He would pat me on the back and shout, "We'll sell it by the million. We'll sweep the world with this one. How on earth did you do it? Your salary is doubled." It was lovely dreaming those dreams, and I have no doubt at all that 35 years later, when I was looking for a plot for my second book for children, I remembered those little cardboard boxes and the newly invented chocolates inside them, and I began to write a book called Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.